You're listening to a Countout Podcast. What is up, Okada Shorts listeners? It's your bad friend Rafe Houston here to drop you a special bonus episode, hot and fresh out the kitchen over at Faces and Feels Pro Wrestling Podcast. That's right, it's my interview with the one and only ultimate weapon, the United Empire's Aaron Henare, straight into your feed. Spoon-fed, just dropped in there to your auto-subscribe. If you like that convenience, if you enjoy the interview and you want more tasty interviews, just drop straight into your feed. You can head over to Faces and Feels. You can just find that on social media at Faces Feelscast. You can hit up linktr.ee/FacesFeelscast. That'll show you everything you need to know. That'll show you where to subscribe. That'll show you where to like. You can even donate if you really want to and you want to pat your boy on the head for all his hard work. Over 139 episodes full of interviews, coverage, chats with friends, and even the original G Wandering that drove me to madness. With that said, I want to thank Aaron Henare for his time. Make sure you hit a follow on him. You can find him online at HenareNZ. And make sure you tune into this year's G1 Climax 33 and watch the man himself make an absolutely huge splash. I cannot wait. It cranks up this weekend, and I am more than ready. So until then, it's crowns up, and the interview is going to start right now. What it is, what's up, and welcome everyone to Faces and Feels. I am your host, Rafe Houston, and today I am joined by a very special guest. Straight out of New Japan Pro Wrestling, it is the one and only, the United Empire's ultimate weapon. It is Aaron Henare. What's up, my dude?
A weapon indeed. Kia ora, kia ora. How's it going, bro?
I am so good, man. It's lovely to see your face again. It feels like just the other day we were having a nice walk with a coffee along that river, and now here we are, virtual.
I think it was the other day.
It was like 3 weeks ago, but it feels like way too long away. I wish I was back in Japan, man. I had an amazing holiday, and it was sweet catching up with you, dude.
Yeah, man, we've had a lot of the Aussie fans come over quite a bit, and even just like show to show, you could look out when we do our entrances. Throughout COVID, you could look out, only see Japanese faces, but now you see the Aussies and the Americans. I think there was Israelis last week.
Yeah, right.
Flag.
Well, that's it. I mean, the lucky thing about Japan is it's like pretty easy to get to, like for us, you know. I think our return tickets on our last holiday, and I mean, there was one ridiculous stopover, but it was like $1,100. So it wasn't even crazy when it costs like, $700 to get to Melbourne, So it's not even that bad. But yeah, I've derailed us immediately, bud. I want to thank you so much for making time. I know you've got a busy schedule. I know you got a little bit off, but you're going to be heading back into action pretty soon. With my show, man, I've only got one question for you, and then we just kind of walk through everything. But if you think back to when you first got into professional wrestling, all that kind of stuff, who were some of the first faces that stood out to you and some of the wrestlers that really started to inspire you and drag you into the sport?
I mean, if we're thinking back, like right at the beginning, right at the beginning, when I was like 3 or 4, it was guys like Goldberg were like the guys that I love. This tough guy just coming out, beating the shit out of everybody. And then from there, it was like WWF, so The Rock.
Yeah.
So every brown kid in New Zealand and probably in Australia as well, they always claim that The Rock is their uncle. And that was massive. But just seeing another Polynesian on the screen, you're just like, oh shit, this is something that our people are in, you know?
Yeah.
It's quite buzzy.
Would it start to feel a bit like, oh, maybe this isn't just for like Americans, you know, like white American dudes, like, there's a bit more going on here.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know Peter Maivia, The Rock's granddad. He was actually a massive superstar in New Zealand before going to America.
Oh,
High Chief. Like he was actually High Chief Peter Maivia in Auckland, my hometown, before he went anywhere else.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. So there's direct ties to New Zealand.
The Rock, when he was a kid, grew up in Auckland, my hometown. So that's a lot what people don't understand.
Really?
I think he's just from Miami, but like I think he was born in Miami or Hawaii.
Yeah.
But his family live in like Samoa and New Zealand.
Wow.
Apart from his immediate family who moved to Florida, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they're islanders, mate.
Wow. I didn't even realize that. I saw on the news the other day, and we'll get back on track briefly, but I saw Jason Momoa was recently filming in New Zealand for, I think, the Fast movies and stuff, and he made a statement on the news. He was like, I am going to move to this country. He was like, I feel like this is where I'm meant to be. He's like, I feel like I lived here in past lives. He's like, he said that straight up.
This whole week I've been talking to people about this subject. Hawaiians, Māori of New Zealand, Tahitians, and Samoans were all the same people.
Yeah.
So, but back in the day, we were all the same people. We just all traveled around and went to all these different islands. So genetically, we're a lot similar to Hawaiians and Samoans, Tahitians, and New Zealand Māori. Yeah. And then you got the Rapa Nui out east in Easter Island is what you guys call it.
Yeah. You were like when we were talking. Hobby, that's what we were talking about. And I found it fascinating when you were telling me some of the history. And I mean, Australians are pretty ignorant anyway, and they never really cover anything in school. But you were actually teaching me so much stuff when we were chatting about like Maori culture and how far back it goes and like how charted and remembered everything was. It was fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's all that oral tradition. So the Hawaiians have their oral tradition, Samoans have theirs, Tahitians have theirs, we have ours, and then at a certain point they all converge into the same sort of people. They all talk about the same people. There's songs in Hawaii and songs in New Zealand about the exact same people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why he was actually welcomed. I think it would have been about March by the whole Māori population in New Zealand. They're like, "Welcome home, cuz." Yeah. And then he was like, "Oh, well, yeah. Well, yeah, I am home." Yeah.
That's amazing, eh? That's so cool. I was saying to my wife, I wish I was rich, famous enough, and maybe had enough ancestry and stuff to be welcome to another country so I could leave here. Just like to Japan, like, hey, I'm worth something. Let me in full time because I would love to live there.
Kiwis are generally welcoming people anyway. We're quite chill.
Yeah, I went to New Zealand once. I was on tour with my band and we went there for nearly a month, and it was amazing, man. We absolutely loved it. You know, top island to bottom island, just, small club shows and things like that. It was really cool.
Yeah, I think those small, like, intimate venues and stuff is where most of the magic happens in New Zealand. Yeah, apart from rugby. Rugby's all big stadium.
Yeah, I didn't get to see any sport when we were there. We were on a bit of a thing, but I would love to see how passionate, the New Zealand crowds get over rugby, because that's everything there.
It's a goddamn religion in New Zealand.
Exactly.
It's not a sport, it's a religion.
Are you able to keep up with it while in Japan?
The rugby's pretty big here, actually. Like there's tons, like half the Japanese national team are either Samoan, Tongan, or just Māori, Kiwi,
Yeah.
So they play it on TV here all the time, so it's pretty easy to keep track of.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Is that how Fale came to be there? Is that how Fale came to be there?
Yeah. He came straight from high school to university rugby, and straight from university to pro. So he went straight to pro. He was like straight in there, and I think he played rugby for the first 15 in his high school, then the top team at uni, and then straight to a team called Fukuoka Sanix Blues.
Yeah, wow.
So
and then
top pro teams.
And then he was like handpicked, right? I guess the wrestling saw him and were like, "Would you want to do this?"
Yeah. I don't know if you know what a number 8 is, but they're the juggernaut of the team.
Okay.
And, they saw him play number 8 for Fukuoka Sanex Blues, and they just wanted him to come straight to pro wrestling. But I think he needed to get his visa sorted.
Right.
So he needed to find a sponsor to do the trial, and then I think he so in the tryout you do like your squats and your push-ups and everything. He's obviously like 5 times bigger than everybody else in the tryout, but he's still doing the same stuff that everybody else was doing. And at the end, you're asked to do an appeal, something that you can appeal with. And then he said, "Okay, someone stand over there with a bag, and I'll tackle you." So this is giant 6'4" Tongan guy from La Baja running at you for a tackle. Good luck.
So, some unlucky young lion. They're like, "Yeah, just go hold that real quick."
Yeah. So that's how he got picked up.
Yeah, amazing. Well, we'll get to your story because I know that your story's pretty interesting, and I know you were the last foreigner essentially accepted into the dojo. So let's rewind back a little bit. You know, you talk about your memories when you're a kid and you first started seeing them. So did you have a lot of those kind of shows on TV in New Zealand? Because like growing up in Australia, I didn't. Like I had to find them in VHS, you know, in Blockbuster Video and stuff like that. Did you have access to it on TV?
It would have been quite similar. We had maybe Channel 5. You guys call it. You guys would have had Channel 5 as well back in the day.
Maybe. I lived in a country town, so I was a bit more limited in what I had. Like 2 channels. I had ABC and GWN, and that was it. I remember when the 3rd channel came. That was a big deal.
Okay, yeah. So we originally had those 2 channels, Channel 2, Channel 4, which had one had WCW and one had WWF.
Oh, wow.
So one was playing reruns of Nitro, and the other one was playing reruns of Raw from like months earlier. So that was the first one. And then Channel 5, Sky TV came out, and that was when Raw and SmackDown started. So that would have been like 2003, 4, 5 is when it started blowing up in New Zealand. Yeah. And they came around 2006, 2007 is when WWE came. And it was when I went to, they did a big show at Western Springs Stadium. And I think Batista was in the main event. MVP was there as well.
Wow.
Yeah, it was buzzing. And I brought like the cheapest ticket in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Skipped past the security, skipped past another security, and skipped past another security to front row. So I just like, yeah.
And you just found an empty seat and jumped in it?
Yeah. And then as I did that, the match finished. And then Batista walked around, came up to my corner and hugged me. So I was like, oh, shit, this is my guy. So he's one of the reasons I like doing power moves is because of him.
That's so cool. And how old were you then when you did this?
It would have been about 12, 13, I think.
Wow. That's crazy. The balls on you, eh? And then to be essentially stolen somebody else's experience is pretty funny.
Well, nobody was sitting in that seat, so technically I wasn't.
Technically, it was a ghost.
Seat.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That is awesome. I was once hugged by Hiroshi Tanahashi in Sydney, so that was pretty amazing. I think I was the last hug before COVID.
It was a University of New South Wales one?
Yeah, in the Roundhouse. You were on that show as well, actually. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was you versus Isha. Yeah, absolutely. That was sick.
Yeah.
So then from there, from being a fan and, you know, you've snuck front row and stuff and you're liking wrestling, how do you even begin to, like, train in that? Because it must feel pretty far away. And I know that you've said in previous interviews and stuff, you sort of grew up and it was a bit rough and stuff like that. How do you find those resources, or how do you even start?
There was a club in Auckland called Dilworth Wrestling Club, Dilworth Grizzly Bears.
Yeah.
And they did like freestyle Greco-Roman and submission wrestling.
Oh, okay.
So that was and it was so the whole school was funded for low socioeconomic kids, so like poor kids, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so for a whole year of wrestling training, you pay $70. So I was just like, what the hell? I get to like beat people up for $70. So that's what I did after going to that show. I signed up to actual wrestling, knowing that'll help me out later on down the line.
Yeah.
And then that worked out. I got up to pre-Commonwealth level, so I actually got selected for the Commonwealth Games.
Really?
Team, like wrestling team.
Wow.
But I wanted to go to New Japan, and that was the same time that I met Fale, and he said, if you want this, start training.
Yeah.
You have to let all the other stuff go. So I sort of had to prioritize training with Fale.
Yeah. How did you meet
it worked out in the
Fale?
end. So originally he was training with Mark Hunt for his fight camp. So I think it was either Bigfoot Silva or Cain Velasquez, one of them, whatever was in early 2014.
Mm-hmm.
So he was training up for that, and I was going to the same gym as them. And then knowing that I was going to the same gym as them, I started going to the gym at 5 a.m. when the gym opened, just to see what time they came in. So I was there like 5 a.m. every day, like on the bikes.
Yeah.
And then Fale noticed me there. And he had come to a few independent shows that I was on before that. And he's like, hey, you're that kid from that show. And then he invited me to come train. And then I impressed him in the training. So I said, come train with me some more, and I'll train you up to go to Japan.
Wow.
And that was just like, I remember the one day decision, he like took me to lunch and coffee and stuff. And he was like, look, if you want this, you have to set your goals and you have to follow through. So I was like, yep, that day, yep, let's do this.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so you obviously knew who he was, knew what meeting him would mean, and you essentially put a plan in place to meet him and hopefully get to work with him.
It wasn't sort of a like, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do this. Yeah. In our culture, it's like if we follow the big brother, the older guy, then we could get to where they get to.
Like follow his
that's
example.
What I like about him.
Yeah.
He's still like, and it's very Japanese as well. The same, like junior,
senpai.
Senior, senpai, kohai sort of thing. The same. But he's always been pretty good with like brown kids, Māori and Pacific kids, because he knows what it's like coming up, being the only brown guy around. So it's pretty good. So technically, I was the first guy from Fale Dojo to come to Japan.
Yeah, because like you were, I guess, his student before there was a Fale Dojo, right? Like you were already training with him.
So during that time, I used to help him out. So like I couldn't afford to pay him for training all the time. So he was like, look, just help me set up all of these seminars and I'll let you train for free. Wow. And then I set up quite a few seminars around Auckland for him. And then that was my training there. So like helping him out. We both win. He wins and I win, you know.
Oh, that's so cool, man. It's really, I guess, rare in this world and really special when you hear about guys like that who have made it successful and have achieved this thing, but then reach back down, you know what I mean, and bring other people back up with them. And in that Lions Raw documentary he did like about his dojo, you could see how much he cared and how hard he works. And then to hear that you know, continues all the way back to really the start is pretty impressive, I think, and a big word to his character, right?
I mean, there's definitely guys that have like made it through that system. There was me, and then after me, it was a Hikuleo.
Oh yes,
was actually there. And even before me, he was the one that got Jay White into New Japan.
Wow.
Though Jay White didn't train through New Japan, but he impressed Fale enough when Fale was doing a tour of the UK.
Uh-huh.
And then Fale vouched for him in New Japan, and then they brought him straight away.
Yeah, wow. And so how much experience had you had before New Japan? Like, were you exclusively Greco-Roman stuff and then straight into be molded from scratch, essentially, or were you doing indie shows?
No, I was doing indie shows, but so at the time, so 2014, I would have been wrestling 7 years or so, I think. But when I got to New Japan, I realized, that stuff I was taught wasn't actually proper wrestling. And then looking back at it now, it's like, of course not. It's just a bunch of guys that watched WWE and then thought, this is how they do it. But then going to New Japan dojo was like a massive rude awakening, getting the shit beaten out of you, and like because they don't teach how to like hit the mat properly, very dangerous on the indies sometimes. When the falls aren't done properly, you're more likely to get injured. And even something as simple as running the ropes, like if you don't do it the right way. So I was putting too much stress on my Achilles throughout that whole 7-8 year period. Wow. And then got here, did it properly, snapped my Achilles just because there was so much damage from all of those years of doing it wrong. So I say I wrestled 7 years before coming to New Japan, but the reality is it wasn't professional wrestling. It was just rolling around in a shed pretty much. That's not a dog on anyone. They were doing their best with what they thought they knew.
And I mean, you're talking about being entered into a system that's world renowned to produce some of the, if not the best wrestlers in the world. So that's the difference between people doing their best and like this established time-honored system. So it was a huge wake-up call for you then once you hit the ground in Japan.
Because we all know it's the Dunning-Kruger effect, like, I've been wrestling 7 years, so I know a lot. And then you finally realize how much you don't know, and then you're like, oh, shit. Yeah. It's like, rude awakening.
Yeah, you thought you were going in a vet, and that is not the case whatsoever.
Yeah. So I'd say like 8 years independence, wrestling once a month is equivalent to maybe 1 or 2 tours in the pro circuits.
Yeah.
If that. Yeah.
Tell me about this independent time. Did you have a fun working name and gimmick I should know about, or were you just Aaron? Or?
I had a few. So like when I first debuted was a match just before Sandman at Armageddon. I don't know if you guys have Armageddon expos.
Not sure.
They're like a big Comic-Con type of event. I think yours is called Supernova.
Oh yeah, it's Supernova. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, something like that. But. So this is when shuffling was the thing.
Mm-hmm. What shuffling? What papers? Shuffleboard?
Melbourne Shuffle.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
yeah. So,
where people would do like the song would play and people would do. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, man. So that was my guy, my original guy, because I would do that at like school and stuff. Like it was like the cool guys thing to do at school.
Yeah.
So I just brought that into wrestling. A-Class was the name.
Yeah.
Play on words.
Yeah.
You can't see that.
Nobody needs to know. This is a family show.
Yeah, but after that, that's when I started doing MMA as well. So I changed the whole shtick to sort of kind of like what I'm doing now, but more like MMA based.
Yeah.
I was at the same time as doing the wrestling stuff. I was doing MMA and jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and Muay Thai and stuff like that. So that's when I started falling in love with the whole fight game part of it.
Yeah.
So that would have been about. I was real young when I debuted, like 15, because I faked my age. I told them I was 18 because I haven't grown much since I was 15. So.
Right. So you were always kind of tall for your age.
I grew tall real quick and then stopped.
Just stayed stationary from there on out.
Yeah.
So man, I knew you were like well versed in, like the fight game and stuff, obviously, especially like when you went overseas to train in Muay Thai and stuff like that. But I didn't realize you've really been a martial artist kind of your entire life. It sounds like between Greco-Roman and MMA and Muay Thai and professional wrestling, you're a pretty well-rounded fighter.
Yeah, well, there's all the guys in the UFC, all the Kiwi guys now, Shane Young, Izzy Adesanya, Kai Whare. Guys like Kai and Shane, we used to wrestle together when we were younger.
Yeah, wow.
Since we were, when was it, man? Shane would have been like 9 when we started doing wrestling together. Yeah. And then Kai Whare were in the Auckland team for a bit in 13, sorry. Yeah. And then I stopped training with those guys in MMA around 2014. The same time I started training with Fale is when I stopped training with the other guys because you can't like do Greco and pro wrestling and MMA all in 1 week. If you're doing it at a high level, you have to focus on one. So I chose pro wrestling with Fale, and now I'm here.
Yeah.
But then I've still always loved like fighting. I love Muay Thai. Any chance I go to Thailand and just train. I just the Māori martial arts as well. Even before wrestling, I used to do Māori martial arts like weaponry and all the philosophical, spiritual side is amazing to me.
That's so cool. Talk a little bit more later about your passion for everything to do with Māori history, because I'm really interested to hear about all that, because I know it's a big part of your future and present and everything that you're working towards. Rewinding back to like landing in Japan though, how was that? I mean, you said it was like coming in on the first day when you'd been wrestling for 8 years, but how was the culture shock as well? Like you're essentially picked up and you're dropped in, like you're now about to live in this dojo and get the shit beat out of you and try and become this thing that you know exist. Was that pretty eye-opening for you? Like the way I love Japan, but it is a very different way of life, you know, and you're this young guy who wants to do this thing, but you're on the other side of the world suddenly.
Yeah. So it wasn't compared to a lot of the other foreigners, it wasn't so much of a culture shock because I say it all the time. Our culture, Māori culture, Pacific Island culture, is a lot closer to Japanese culture than most other cultures. I mean, we're all Pacific Island nations, you know, so we're bound to have some similarities. But the language was probably the hardest thing. To be honest, the biggest culture shock for me was all the American guys.
You're suddenly there with other foreigners who don't know what's going on, and you're like, it's probably easier if I was just here on my own.
Just like you don't speak back to the elders. You do what you're told. You stay humble. That's sort of the island way. But that's not the American way.
Right.
The American way.
Were they struggling with that?
So, yeah. So I think it wouldn't have been an American thing. Maybe more just the person. But Cody Hall was there.
Yeah.
Juice Robinson. How he is on the camera is how he is in person. So
right.
Over the top. Me coming from New Zealand, where we're quite like laid back and chill, seeing this guy, I was like, "What the hell? People like this exist." Yeah, but apart from the like yelling at 7 a.m. So when you wake up as a dojo boy, before you do all the cooking and cleaning, you have to yell, "Oh, it's got some of this."
Yeah,
thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Sure.
Any senpai you see, so Liger lives at the dojo.
Yeah.
If you don't wake up and yell at him, "Thank you for your work," he'll beat the shit out of you.
Like literally just choke you out in the building, or just train like it's time to do 1,000 squats right now?
I mean, the squats. That's so like they try and make you give up. They try and make you squat until you want to give up. They try and make you do the cleaning every day for a whole week, just to make you give up. Because it's how much do you want it? Do you want to be a wrestler as much as you don't want to do all of this work?
Yeah.
There's a new Netflix series I just started watching, Sanctuary.
I've seen that. The sumo one, right?
Yeah. So that's a good, a little sneak peek at what it's like to live a dojo life.
Sure. Absolutely. Because it is that. It's servitude, right? Like you're in there. There's chores to be done. You're like certain things need to be completed. All the training needs to be done, and your free time is a little bit limited,
Yeah, so I think seeing the Australian guys come, they probably struggled the most with it because they're so Aussies are so chill, you know?
Yes.
With everything. Like, they're probably more chill than Kiwis when it comes to work and stuff. But those little things are what the Japanese senpais see and they're like, "Oh, this guy doesn't want it." If you're not openly
switched on aggressively. Yeah.
Parodying the fact that you want this, to them you don't want this.
Yeah, wow.
But the culture shock wasn't too bad for me. I didn't like it. It was the first time that I didn't need to worry about cooking, food or accommodation or gym payments, because it's all free.
Yeah,
you pay in squats. There's what they say is you pay your rent in squats. It was a good trade-off for me. I'll give you 1,000 squats and you give me this free life.
Yeah, you're like suits me down to the ground. And I mean, I guess you did already come from a background where you had trained in martial arts, so you already understood discipline, I guess. Like it's not though you worked on the indies, it's not like you were only trained in indie wrestling, which is quite a bit more casual or whatever, you know, like you had that structure.
Well, for me, I'm glad that I had that background because it was so I had Great Okan, Kitamura Katsuya, Ren Narita, all of these Japanese shooters, so freestyle, Greco-Roman, all Japan champions.
Yeah.
So our intake was quite rough. We had the tough guy intake.
Yeah.
So everyone sort of looked down on us you guys are just fucking fans, pretty much.
Yeah.
But no, we were the killer intake, with the exception of Shota Umino, who was a baseball boy. The rest of us were actual killers.
Shooters. Yeah, exactly. And then there was the indie guys and stuff like that. But I was going to say, because Okan was a Greco-Roman type wrestler as well, right?
Yeah, it was a Japan 120. So yeah, he was freestyle. Kitamura was 125 or 130, whichever the Greco one was. So Oko was freestyle. Kitamura was Greco. Narita was 85 kilo freestyle Japan champion, and I was New Zealand Greco freestyle and submission 85 champion.
Wow. This is a murderer's row right there, isn't it?
But this was, Fale told me before I got here, just about all of that wrestling and MMA stuff, just keep it quiet. So like, as in like, don't let everybody know.
Yeah.
Because then they'll underjudge you and think you're nobody. And then, but the boys found out quite quick.
Yeah. So it's that kind of thing where if you come in with this rep or whatever, then they want to test you and stuff where, and if they think you're a nobody, then all you can do is impress them. Like as you increase and demonstrate your skills and shit like that. That's awesome. Yeah. And so
one story I don't tell very often is the first day I met Fale. So he came to one of the trainings, actually, one of those independent wrestling trainings.
Sure.
The one day we were focusing on, I was teaching people mat wrestling, freestyle wrestling. And then him coming from the New Japan dojo comes in, hey, can I have a go? And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, thinking I'll take this guy. Forgetting he's 150 kilos, you know.
It ain't gonna matter.
So I try and sweep him. I get my inside or uchigari, so inside leg reap.
Okay.
But I forgot he's 150 kilos, so he just pushes me forward, and I like twist my leg around his leg, fall on the ground in front of everybody, and he's like, "Oh, is that all?" You know,
just humbles you immediately.
Yeah. So I mean, that's my dumb idea for trying to inside sweep a giant, but yeah. You stick to the low leg shoots on giants. I was just being cocky.
You were like, I'm going to show everybody how I can put this big guy down. And then you're like, oh fuck, I forgot he's an absolute murderer.
Not to mention his 18 years of playing rugby.
Yeah, exactly. His literal job was to not get knocked over. Exactly. So how long were you in the dojo before you did that injury? Because I'm trying to remember the timeline, because when I first went to Japan, I did catch a Korakuen Hall show, and I'm quite sure I saw you wrestle. I think you and Okan wrestled like in the opener.
That would have been the match that I got injured.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the opening Korakuen match.
I
think that's the only opening match I've had with Oka.
Then literally I was in the crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, whole backstory to that was the whole week I was trying to I was outpacing everybody with training. Just like my lifts were heavier than everybody's, my fitness was better than everybody's.
Yeah.
But the day before I did heavy deadlifts, so like 240 or so.
Yeah.
And then the day of the show, we still have to do young lion training during the shows. Like even if it's a show day, you have to do your 1,000 squats.
Yeah.
So I did the 1,000 squats. And then afterwards we did like rope sprints. So like you just keep sprinting in the ropes until you can't sprint anymore. And the highest score wins. So I wasn't going to let anybody beat me. So I just kept going. I felt my ankle twist a little bit, but I just kept going. And then after training, I was just spent. So cooled right down, wake up around 4 to go to the show. Bam. First match, snap. So would have just been overworked completely, and then cool down, all the blood flow goes away.
Yeah.
And then straight back to match. So it was just pure overwork, but then that showed them, oh, this guy's willing to kill himself to wrestle.
Yeah, so that's a respect thing as well. That's not a like, oh, he's not built for this. It's like he's going to work through it. He's going to make it happen. Yeah. It's the like mental toughness.
His mind is stronger than his body, but that's good.
Yeah, right. And then how long were you out with that?
That was 9 months, I think. That was it was like a full, complete tear.
Because then you came back, right? Like when you came back as like Henare, you weren't really a young lion when you came back. Like,
yeah, that was, I came back for tag league with Makabe because Homa had also got injured that week.
Right.
So the same week I got injured, he got injured. But his was a neck injury, so he couldn't recover in 9 months.
Right. So that was when he got really badly injured, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that guy shouldn't be walking right now, but he is.
There's a few miracles out of Japan. Like, I mean, look at Shibata as well. Like, these are both dudes that should have had career-ending injuries, and they're just both getting around looking like $1 million, and you're like, yo, there's probably something to this, whatever they're doing as far as training goes.
Honestly, I think it's more not so much a wrestler thing, but more a athlete thing. So most people don't realize how injured and banged up athletes are day to day.
Yeah.
But if you get your blood flow right, if you get your eating right, if you get your sleeping right, your body, like the body's amazing. It could recover so much until it eventually breaks down from aging.
Yeah, exactly. But until then, you can work it pretty hard.
Yeah. I mean, the human body's capable of so much that that 38-minute match I had, I thought I was going to die, but the body pushed through, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's something that we'll definitely talk about. But before we fast forward to that amazing match with Shingo, talk about let's just talk a little bit about coming back. You know, debuting in World Tag League, doing the Henare thing. But I think you would probably agree that for a while there you felt stalled, you know, like where it was all going, obviously, and then COVID and stuff happens. But
yeah,
you were ready to go, and you would have been pretty fired up to begin. How were you feeling as you debut back? You get out of your injury. How are you all feeling as far as mentally and motivation?
Yeah, I'm always pretty motivated to do whatever, no matter. Like I've been injured heaps of times. I've been set back tons of times as well, but. For that one, that whole period was sort of at the time I was like, well, what are they waiting for? Why am I not getting anything?
Yeah.
And then like later on I realized, hey, these guys are just it's just another form of those squats they're telling you to do.
Yeah,
do 1,000 squats, do 1,000 of these matches. For those 2 years, me and Naito were the most active wrestlers in the world.
Really?
I can't remember the amount of matches, but if you look up on, I forgot what
Cage Match or something.
Like, 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
Naito #1, Henare #2 for the amount of matches had.
Really?
That was insane. So that's when we did the Australian tours.
Yes.
And, we were going everywhere, and I was on every single show in Japan. On top of those international shows.
Yeah.
So then I realized, that's the marathon. This is the marathon part of it.
Sure.
So just trying to see if I give up if they.
Again, it's that training, right? Like, and it's the whole thing. Like, if anything, some people maybe go, oh, there's nothing for me, and they're just wasting me. But in reality, they're probably investing in you. You know what I mean? They're getting reps in.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And it's good that you bring that up because that's a very Japanese thing. Is that the long run? They're with you for the long run. They realize that foreigners come here. They just want to get rich and then use it as a what do you call it?
Stepping stone.
Trampoline to go jump to the WWE, which is what a lot of foreigners do. If they don't do that, they give up and go somewhere else.
Yeah. Because
they don't get the instant results. But the instant results isn't a Japanese thing. They're all about incremental. So
it's
case in point,
I love
it. Our generation now, you got me, you got Shota, Narita, Okan. We're all only coming up now, and then Suji's just come back.
Yeah.
So that's like our generation of guys, and that's what 7 years ago was when we came here. So foreigners will think about it like, oh, these guys have been here for ages and they've done nothing. Japanese are like, I'm watching these people grow day by day.
Yeah.
It's just a different cultural perspective.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up because it's why I love New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like you can see the talent invested in the company, you can see the company invested in the talent, and you can watch entire careers play out, you know, and I can see that loyalty, and I've seen it in you and I've seen it in others. It's like when that is displayed and when you see it through, it all comes back around like you have a job for life, you know, and you can see look, you talk about that 7-year mark or whatever. Look at Sonata, like now world champion, had been with the company for 7 years, you know, before that ever happened and before he was even let loose to do, you know, what he's capable of, you know, like it's that they really play that long game. But when you're invested in the company and you watch that stuff play out, it's so rewarding when it does.
Yeah, it's what a lot of foreign fans don't. I wouldn't say Australian because you guys are pretty cool. You guys just like to enjoy it. But a lot of American fans are like, oh, he's boring. He's just doing the same thing. I mean, it's because you're not seeing the minute little differences day to day.
Yeah.
You're not seeing the little change in the costume that this guy's doing. You're not seeing the little changes in the ring that he's one by one changing his moves. Like me, for instance, stepping away from the pro wrestling and adding more Muay Thai and fighting is like being more myself has helped me more than being a pro wrestler, you know?
Yeah, sure. When I saw, when COVID had locked everything down, and I had seen that you had gone to Thailand and like you're posting all these fight videos and stuff, my first thought was like, this is who he is. Like everybody could see it, in those videos, how comfortable you were in that. And I'm like, this is what he needs to be. Like, and when they let him loose and he gets to be that, that will be the next step. And the United Empire stuff happens. And then once you again went from, you debut as Aaron Henare, Ultimate Weapon. And then when those, minute changes start to happen, we lead to like the matches that you've had recently, and you're like, now we're getting somewhere. So how did United Empire happen? Because you obviously, COVID's locked Japan down. What was your mindset? I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go and train and make the most of this time.
I honestly thought it'll be a small 1 month lockdown, and then everything will be back to normal, which is why I went to Thailand. I'm like, it's going to be quick, get fit for the New Japan Cup, and then it's me and Ishii in the main event.
Yeah, hot.
So that was where my mind was at. But little did we know, 2 years later, and I'm stuck between the two hardest quarantine countries in the world. So yeah, the time in the dojo, easy compared to the quarantines, man.
Yeah,
because it was more a challenge to the mind rather than the squats.
Yeah, you're like, I've done hard physical stuff before. I do it all the time. That's what I am. And then when you take that and you're put in those kind of situations, I mean, everybody in the world found it hard, but to be moved away and like you say, stuck in another country again, it's like, man, I'm just here.
Yeah, not even that. It was the hotels, the quarantine hotels that like 99% of people didn't even see or witness or see anything.
Yeah.
Just being stuck in there. You're allowed outside 5 to 10 minutes a day. You're not allowed to sweat. You're not allowed to drink water outside your room. You have to get permission to. It was just prison.
Yeah.
And I understand it was like precaution for nobody knows how bad this virus is. It's a precautionary measure. But man, it was bad. There were army, there were policemen, there were Air Force, there were private security. All for protecting a room of someone hasn't been sick in 2 years.
Dude, that's hectic. I often joke, like, here we're obviously in Perth, and that's like the most isolated city in the world. So we were barely even touched. There were, limited lockdowns, and that did affect people. I worked through the whole thing. I only ever had like essentially kind of a week where it was like I couldn't go to work. And I was like, I enjoyed that taste of that. I fucking could go a little bit more of it because we're talking about my own house. I've got, my TV, I've got the internet, I've got everything. It's really just a holiday. So I never really experienced anything. When you talk about what you're talking about, like not only is that prison, it's scary too because you don't actually know the health risks and stuff either. So you're just like, I'm kind of here and I can't go anywhere, and when will this end?
Yeah, for me, it was kind of like I used to be very sick growing up. I used to be sick all the time.
Really?
And then I changed my eating habits and my fitness habits.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, for 2 whole years, I didn't get sick.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. So I drink like 6 liters of water a day. I only eat natural food.
Yeah.
And I'm never sick.
Yeah.
So this whole COVID, just having that experience, I was like, hold on a sec. If people just focus on their natural health markers, it'll be more beneficial. But in quarantine, they woke you up, that stop you from sleeping. They give you high sugar food. They give you acidic, high inflammation food in quarantine. So I'm like, hang on, knowing that all of this stuff causes people to get sick.
Yeah.
And smoking. So the one thing that pissed me off the most is that as a fit person, I wasn't allowed to go outside and just jog around for 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
But a smoker was allowed to go outside and smoke and spread their smoke to everybody in the outside.
Makes literally no sense.
Like, it was the logical inconsistency that annoyed me more than anything. Just let me work out, let me drink water.
They don't sound like too harder things to request.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think everybody was just hit with a state of fear, whether it was fear of the conspiracy of the government trying to take everything over, or the fear of getting COVID. Like
either way, it was fear. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
you know me, I'm not afraid of much. So
exactly right. But you can't physically fight a virus. You're like, I've trained my whole life for this, and now this has happened. So anyway, you do manage to get through it. You make the most of the time that you've got, what you can anyway, and you get back to Japan. How does the United Empire stuff start to happen? Because you and I were talking, and we were going to do this podcast quite some time ago, and it got shut down because of United Empire, because they were like, something, he's got a big meeting, we can't do anything, and then you debut as a member of United Empire.
Yeah. So that was Osprey just invited me one day to dinner and just told me, hey man, we want to bring you on board. What do you think about this? And I was like, yes, thank you. Because this was, again, at that point where I was like, in the marathon part of it.
Yeah.
Like, man, anything I fucking get, I'll take you. And I liked where they were going. I mean, Okan, me and him were in the dojo together, and we came up together.
Yeah.
And then they added Jeff to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you got Jeff, Okan, Osprey.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man.
What a team.
You need a tough guy.
Yeah.
You need a scrapper. I'm the scrapper. You got the entertaining guy, you got the overall guy like Will, you got the power guy like Jeff. Come on, you need the striker. Come on.
Let's go. Go.
I think I fit in quite well in the team, a lot more than Hontai, because I was doing everything I possibly could in Hontai, and it was like more jacked than I had ever been in my life when I was tagging with Tanahashi, but still no opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. How was that brief? We'll take a brief detour. How was it just working with a legend like Tanahashi? Like, Henare was a really fun team. It must have been pretty amazing to just like be there with him, you know?
Yeah, like the first time was really good. It was real fun because he wasn't injured. The second time fucking sucked. So he had an injured knee.
Oh.
So if you go back and look at all of those matches, I think that was 2020, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
2020, yeah. He had an injured knee. He couldn't do anything. Go back and look at the matches, and I'm in the ring 90% of the time.
Oh no!
So yeah, I was fucked, man. That tour like wasted me so much. I broke my rib, I think.
Oh.
On one of those matches there.
Yeah.
But there's nothing I can do. This guy's got a messed up knee. We have to keep going. So,
yeah.
And then towards the end of the tour, you see me with taped up ribs and stuff, but it was rough.
Just fighting through it as your team's in pieces. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, fuck, these guys are just using me as Tanahashi's knee pad.
That's so brutal. So how do you your Will takes you out, you obviously get on well with him, and he gives you this opportunity. So what's the sort of thought process that goes into what you want to look like, changing the name, adding Aaron back to Henare, like, you know, all those things? Like, are you like, I need to completely revamp everything, I need to change, I need to sort of fit with what they're doing? How do you think about that stuff?
For me, it was more, I need to be more myself. It was the company wanted me to be this haka.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, I respect my culture, but I'm not there to be your little circus monkey, you know? So that's sort of what it felt like.
And there's also been some very famous, you know, proud warriors in wrestling who have done that very, very well, and they've done it, you know? And so it's hard for you to be yourself when, you know, when guys like, you know, Umaga and, you know, and the head shrinkers and all these guys have already done it to such a level.
Yeah, and so it's in comparison, it's kind of lame, you know. But in the West, everybody knows, oh, don't fuck with Islanders; they'll beat the shit out of you.
Yes.
In Japan, they still like, they don't really know who we are.
Yeah.
So there's not really that cultural awareness at all. They just see a big guy, and they don't know what culture. You're just a big guy, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, for that it was more being myself. I want to be more myself. I want to kick the shit out of people. I don't want to appeal to the fans like I used to.
Yeah.
Being more myself was the main thing. Dressing how I want. You know? So I remember I was wearing like a short shorts and a t-shirt and a short tee, like how Kiwis do, Kiwi style. And Tiger Mask would be like, "What are you doing? Go put some clothes on. You look disgusting." As in, like, that's not professional. And I'm just like, "The fuck, you telling me what to wear?"
Yeah.
The stuff like that was annoying. So when I joined Will, I was just like, I'm doing whatever I want now.
Yeah, exactly. They can't control you. You're a bad boy now. There you
can't
go.
see it on the video.
But we know he's repping the new Aaron Henare shirt, which is fire, by the way. And I could not find it anywhere in Japan. It was sold out at every store I went to.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good news.
Exactly. No, it wasn't. The only one I saw, like, was yours. I couldn't find it anywhere because everybody fucking had it already.
That's a good sign for me.
It is a good sign for you. It is a good sign for you. It's a great shirt. People check it out. It's probably restocked by now. So United Empire, obviously, a complete breath of fresh air. The crew has continued to grow, and I think arguably maybe the number one faction in New Japan right now. How is it working with all those guys? And right. as your opportunities have developed, like, it seems like you're the happiest you've ever been.
Yeah, man. Like, you go when you start a new job and you're like, oh, I hope the guys aren't dicks, and there's always that one asshole that you have to work with, and you're just like, fuck, I have to work with this guy. Nothing like that in UE. Everybody's fucking cool. Right? Yeah. From top to bottom, you go, Will's cool. Okan's cool in his own ways. He's a weird boy, but he's cool. And then I'm sort of like the street dude of the team. Like, I'm probably from the lowest, like, socioeconomic area, but I'm like, yo, bro, I'm just chill. I'm like the chill guy of the team. Jeff's the powerhouse, but he's like the cute guy. Like, backstage, he's like the cute guy of the team. Oh, kawaii, that kind of guy. Who was after him? Then you got Akira. Everybody bullies Akira. I've never seen it before in my life, but I don't know how he puts up with it, but he does.
He's the little brother of the team, right?
TJ is like I wouldn't say Yoda, but like the Obi-Wan. He's the Obi-Wan of the team. He's the vet that just knows it all, but he's cool as fuck. He's like, we've all got our different niches there, and he's real like punk, like real cool punk dude. Mm-hmm. He's sort of opened my eyes more to punk. Mm-hmm. Who was after TJ? It was Gideon, I believe.
Yeah, Gideon. We haven't seen Gideon in a bit, but he's amazing.
He's great, smart guy. Crowd reacted to him quite a lot. Uh-huh. And he's a super smart, ridiculously smart guy. And then after him, we had Aussie boys. Yeah, Aussie. Coolest cats in the world.
They are the coolest cunts in the world. Their match at Sakura Genesis, man, they were unbelievable, eh?
Yeah. I was ringside for all their crazy matches, man. I was ringside for their Rev Pro match against the Velocities, which was insane. Yeah. I was just there, like, super tired from like a freaking 20-hour flight, and I'm just like, whoa, shit, what's going on? And then the last guy was
Dan Maloney.
The
driller. Yeah, have you had a chance to?
Badass, man.
Yeah. Have you had a chance? Because obviously, like, you guys just sort of finished that recent tour, and I know you were saying you were a little bit banged up and you were taking a couple of weeks off, and he's jumped into Best of the Super Juniors. Have you had a chance to get to know him at all yet? Or did you know him from Rev Pro and stuff?
That show I did in Rev Pro, I was actually sitting watching every single match, and I watched his match against Gabe. And after the show, I messaged Will. I was like, bro, this guy is the best guy that was on the card next to the Aussie boys, you know?
Yeah.
This guy's fucking good, man. He's good, jacked as hell, shredded as hell. He's got a good look as well. He's just like, he looks like, oh, you don't want to fuck with this guy. Yeah. And I haven't really hung out with him properly, but I know he's like he's a G, as we say on the street. He's a G.
It's an absolute weapon of a dude. His matches have been good in Best of the Super Juniors, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. Like, I think when I consider his opponents and stuff like that, I don't even think we've seen the best from him in this tournament yet. I have another podcast called Okada Shorts, all about New Japan, that I do with a guy who lives in England named Curtis, and he's a big Rev Pro guy, goes to all the shows, and he was telling me, he's like, you need to watch this motherfucker. He's like, he's my fucking dude, and I can't wait to see him in BOSJ.
Yeah, he's good, man. I think he'll really suit being in Japan. There's a lot of guys that are really good overseas, but it's different in Japan. The culture here is different. The people respond differently. Mm-hmm. But I think he really suits it. To me, he's like a shredded 90-kilo version of me.
What a compliment. Hear that, driller? That is an absolute compliment. Hey, so let's talk then about your series of matches recently and everything that happened with Shingo Takagi, because what was the stipulation? It was the ultimate triad match.
Triad, 3-man, yeah.
Amazing.
So there was So they office said, so I wasn't expecting them to do it. I thought it would be a vote.
Yeah.
And then the office said, maybe you pitch something and we'll see what Takagi thinks about it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh. So I thought it was the most brutal thing that I could think of.
And it became a thing that he ran with. So was that the first time he heard about it when you said it in that promo, or had you talked about it before?
Yeah. So that was
because he's looking at you like, what's this motherfucker talking about? Like he's looking at you. But he's going, I like this. This should be the main event. I like it. So and then they ran with it for Tai Chi too.
So we were supposed to be when I first challenged them to it, I think it was supposed to be at Sakura Genesis, the main show.
Yeah.
But then the office was like, you just challenged him to a no time limit match. We can't give you a match in Sakura.
You're like, I fucked myself.
I didn't think that's just the inexperience in my mind. I was like, oh shit, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So then we had to do it at Kurokuin. But to be honest, I like Kurokuin more. Mm-hmm. It's like my home. It feels like my home ground, you know?
And I think that match needed that too, because you guys got to go as long as you needed, and that made the match. Like it needed to be that long. If they'd put it, on Sakura Genesis, you probably wouldn't have got that much time, and it probably wouldn't have been as great as it was.
They would have cut off halfway and then skipped to the next match, I think.
Exactly right. And they just come back to you. You guys are still fighting out the back while it's still going on. But it was successful, man. Like, and you were telling me you were like not well when you were.
Yeah, man, I was sick. So I had asthma and bronchitis. So asthma and bronchitis, how I was saying before, I used to be sick all the time.
Yes.
And then, but the inflammation builds up over time, and that was a pretty rough tour. So the New Japan Cup match, and then matches every day, and then Sakura Genesis every day until that big singles match.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my first championship match, so I wasn't going to pull out of it.
Yeah.
Even if I was sick, I could have had tuberculosis and I would have not pulled out. But we get tested every day, and luckily that day my temperature was okay.
Yeah.
It was just my lungs. It was just like so I was allowed to wrestle, but then I went to hospital the next day.
Jesus Christ.
They gave me 6 different medications for it.
Did it knock you out for a while? Like, did you have to have time off?
I was out. So the whole day. Oh no! Sorry. The next day I still had a match. So I had, and what if you watch it back, the day after Shingo, I had Ishii in a tag. This guy that's been coming after me since I first got to this company.
Yeah.
I was like, oh fuck. I woke up and like saw the match lineup, and I was like, oh shit. After just getting this like physically collapsing in this match with Shingo, my next match is against Ishii. I'm like, oh fuck. Let's go. Just like you see me like just
can't let him know the weakness because he's going to come for you. Apparently, a very stern gentleman is Ishii.
Yeah, that guy's like the coldest guy ever. But it's not like cold in a disrespectful way. It's like cold, like I'll wait till you earn my respect way. He doesn't talk, doesn't do anything.
Yeah, wow.
Very stoic.
Yeah.
Stoic, the right word?
Sure.
But Shingo's great, man.
Yeah.
He's like one of my top 5 guys in the entire world that I think in terms of skill, pro wrestling skill.
He's amazing.
Top 5.
Yeah. It speaks to how good your guys' match was, because they then went on to essentially elaborate on, that gimmick or on that stipulation when they did the Tai Chi Shingo match, which they added 2 more, two more falls or whatever. It was count out and TKO or whatever, and that match was pretty fucking amazing as well.
Yeah, so that five stipulations was my original one. So the office was like, you pitch whatever you want to Shingo, but 5 rules might be too confusing for people.
Right.
So okay. I think having the 3 rules and then adding the 2 was a lot better.
Yeah, because they kind of got a taste of it first, and then
Yeah. Just like with all the previous matches, like Yano Toru's match and their previous Tai Chi match, like they changed the rules to such weird rules that sometimes, like the MMA match, they had Shingo and Okan.
Yeah.
Nobody really understood what was going on, apart from me. I was in the corner like, fuck, this is great, man. Yo. Yeah, but normal pro wrestling fans didn't really understand it, so we needed to change it up that way.
Exactly. It's just baby steps, right? And then sort of educating them and then elaborating on it. But I would say that title, like that KOPW title, has probably never been hotter than it is now due to those series of matches. Like people like, just give us more of that. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, but that one is like a trade-off. So you don't want to be entering into those kind of matches all the time because your body will just be destroyed. So, like, yeah, Shingo, like, so he had me in the cup, and then he had the Sakura Genesis match, and then he went to Australia, and then he came back, and then we went straight into the what was the last tour, Dontaku tour.
Yeah,
and he obviously lost. His body couldn't keep up with it, you know.
Yeah. Exactly right.
But yeah, if you wrestle the way that we do, strong, like Japanese strong style, you won't be able to do that with every match, which is why I think he's probably taking some time off, the same as me right now.
Yeah. Well, that's something for the champions to consider, right? Because you want to be a fighting champion, but then there's also such a thing as just going too hard to the point where you burn out and then somebody takes it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think I've been trying to poke Taichi a lot on Twitter, like, "Man, give me a match, bro. Give me a match." In the backstage comments, I'll be like, "Yeah, you're a champ. Give me a match." But I don't know if he'll take it or not.
Fuck around and find out, Taichi. See what happens. Yeah. So let's I think the natural way this conversation goes, I'd love to hear about. Well, I mean, it kind of sounds like you've still got your eyes set on KOPW, but I'd love to know what your overall goal is continuing with New Japan, and then I'd like to talk a little bit about your Maori heritage and what your plans are there, because I know you said you're planning to go home at some point soon, and there's like a lot you want to achieve to do with your culture as well. So yeah, just those 2 points there. So. What's next for you in New Japan, and then what's next for you in life, I guess.
Obviously G1's coming up. That's what I'm trying to like shred up for. Not shred up, but like get fit, get fitter for. So last year I think I came in too heavy, over 110.
You were the heaviest guy in the tournament, I remember. I think
in the block.
In the block.
No one's heavier than Fale.
Oh yeah, I forgot he was in it. Yeah. Okay, heaviest in the block.
I mean, everybody forgets he's in it, but.
Oh, I hope he listens to this, because it means he'll hear it, but then I'll be sad because he'll hate us.
G1's the big one. But G1, it's not just about the G1. It's about maybe Taichi's in my block. Maybe Tama. Oh, wait, no, maybe Dave. Sorry, David.
Sure.
Bingham, right?
Set up challenges.
Maybe David's in the block. Yeah. Maybe the Aussie guys are going to lose their title to somebody, and I get to wrestle them, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe...
That is a big consideration then.
Sonata is in my block and I get to pin him.
Yeah.
So it's those sort of things that most people think about the G1 as just about winning the G1, but no, G1 opens you up to the Never title, the KOPW title. Maybe who's the strong champion now? David? Fred?
Hikuleo is the
open weight.
Yeah, it's the open.
So maybe he's in my block.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the G1 itself; it's about everything altogether. So
sure, like
definitely one of those. There's got to be someone. They're not going to have one block with nobody in it.
Yeah, so, no champions. You can see who you can put your target on, because that's the thing that I remember Zach used to always say in those tournaments. You know, he'd really just be gunning for like Okada, and he's like, mate, I've already pinned the champion. I've got a fucking title shot. It doesn't really matter. Like, you know, he's hit his goal, and it's kind of that. It's like, what potential targets can I set up? Because if I can set up title defenses as well as a G1 win, then fucking great.
Yeah, exactly. Like the G1's so big because you get it at Tokyo Dome, which is like expected to be 50,000 people next year.
Yeah.
But to a wrestler, with the difference between a Kuroko Hall and a Tokyo Dome, they're right next to each other. The energy is just the same. The belt is still the same. So like
exactly. So and hey, if you win, you're going anyway.
Might make some more money.
Yeah,
might make some more money at Tokyo Dome, but the opportunity is the same. You know.
Well, that's it. You pin him in Korakuen Hall, then you're the defending champion in Tokyo Dome, right? Hey, that doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's so many opportunities, not just the G1 itself, but then at the same time, everybody's watching the G1. Wrestlers in the WWE are watching the G1. So
yeah,
G1's where people take notice.
Absolutely. And I mean, a grueling tournament, but it's what New Japan's known for. So you got to be ready.
Yeah, man. Like I said, this company's about being a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, exactly right. Learn your lessons and keep on trucking.
Yeah, bro.
Hell yeah. And then when are you going home? Because when we were talking, you said you had plans and you wanted to really start to sort of make an impact in New Zealand and have a positive effect, and you're learning a lot about your culture. Is that a trip you've got booked soon, or?
Yeah, next month, June 19th. So I think there's the Dominion is the last sort of big tour before we go.
Sure.
But I'm actually planning a big show in New Zealand at the moment.
Oh, cool.
So we've got like massive like social media guests and TV, like Māori TV, like the top Indigenous TV in New Zealand's going to be there. We've got radios. We haven't announced it yet, but it's like it's going to be the first event in the world completely dedicated to Māori and Pacific wrestlers. Obviously, we'll have like European, New Zealand wrestlers on the show as well, and anybody else that's keen. But the main focus is showcasing Māori and Pacific wrestlers so that they could have an opportunity to be showcased to the world.
Amazing. And is this with Warrior Wrestling?
Yes, yeah, Warrior Wrestling. So me and Anthony Khan was actually the guy that came up with the idea. I know his name's Tony Khan, but he's a different Tony Khan. The guy you guys but yeah, he's a real estate developer that he used to wrestle in school as well, like freestyle and that, and then he also wrestled in Mexico professionally. Yeah, so he started Warrior Wrestling, and now we're going just trying to give more people a chance to make money in New Zealand, not just going out overseas and then doing shows there. But that's big. And then got a big ritual ceremony happening when I'm back. I've been keeping it a secret from the wrestling fans though, but if you know, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I do know. But it's going to be pretty amazing to like reconnect, you know, that you said you've been in contact with like elders and with where people have been, you know, taking you through your culture and all these things like that. So it's going to be pretty amazing to actually be there, right? Because, I mean, how long's it been? Yeah. It's been years, right, since you've been able to get back to New Zealand?
About a year and a half now. But the main thing that's happening right now in New Zealand is there's like a Indigenous awakening. It's probably happening in Australia as well. The long story short is the United Nations has ruled for the rights of Indigenous people. So Canadians, Indigenous Native Americans, Indigenous First Nations, Australians, all over the world, sort of like banding together to lobby the government to like make amends and give our land back and stuff like that. So that's been big. But a large part of that for heaps of us is reconnecting with your ancestry. So right now I've been learning my lineage, ancestry, 53 generations. So right now it's at about 950 CE, I think, is where we could get to if you're using the 25-year average.
It's higher than I can count.
Yeah, so all the way back to a island all the way back to Samoa and Apollo, so which is why I said the Samoans were all related. But yeah, us Eastern Polynesians were quite a bit leaner than our Tongan and Samoan cousins. So. But yeah, it's been quite buzzy learning about it. It's essentially Moana, the Disney movie. Yeah, essentially what it is.
Yeah, okay. So, are you taking some kind of raft to get back there, or are you just going with a traditional?
Fly back as per usual. We can't build. I mean, it'll take about 6 months, so I might miss the G1 if we go by.
And that's the only reason. It's not that he's afraid of the sea, guys. He could definitely.
No. We're born for the sea, bro. I'm going back for the sea, you know.
Yeah.
So our family land's like we've got our own beach back, so I like going back there whenever we're home, and also to look at houses in New Zealand. So.
Yeah, exactly right. It'll be interesting to sort of have two homes because I mean, jumping between like the two places will be, I guess, kind of stressful, but also really nice to be able to come home and not just have to stay in a hotel or something, right?
Yeah. So hotel life's cool, but it's cool also being able to have somewhere to relax and chill out, you know.
Absolutely.
And what better place to relax than some beach in the middle of country town, New Zealand?
Amazing. Exactly. We're surrounded by friends and family.
Got a big surprise in store for the fans. Well, you guys will all be surprised, but all the Islanders will be like, yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah, exactly right. We're not going to say anything about what that is, but what I will say is that it was fascinating to me to just hear the history behind that and and everything that's gonna go into it and how much it means to you. Like I think it's gonna be a really awakening experience for you.
Yeah, man. You see a lot of those new Nike shirts with the rock symbol, and it says mana on it.
Mm-hmm.
Mana, and his whole brand is based around mana.
Yeah,
this concept of mana, which is like the central thing in Polynesian culture, and that's like spiritual energy.
Uh-huh.
Prestige, I think, might be the English word, charisma, or just like your life force.
Yeah.
And everybody has it, but over time you can build it. And so what I'm trying to do is take that mana from their ancestors and bring it down, and hopefully showcase that in the G1 there.
Amazing. It's going to be a lot. So everybody needs to get ready for this man to hit the G1 because it is going to be something else. Absolutely.
I think I might shave my hair as well. What do you think?
Hey, that's up to you, my man. You need to do what you think is correct.
I think it might be time.
He's catching angles in the camera here. As somebody who needs a haircut as well at the moment, my hair is completely out of control, so I can completely understand the need to.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen you without a hat.
I know, so it's really just down to convenience because I can't be bothered going anywhere. Believe it or not, I had dreadlocks for 10 years down my back. Like,
that's badass.
Like,
I love dreads.
Huge. Man. Well, I was in like a metal band, we're tough boys. So
yeah.
What that is.
I was at one metal concert once, and the guy was swinging his hair around.
Yeah,
but the top of the dread got like stuck in the guitar string, and he was like spent a whole. He was still rocking, but he was like trying to undo the hair and the thing the whole time.
My guitarist had definitely had that happen, so it may have been our show when we were in New Zealand, but we used to do a lot of that, and it's why my neck is now a fucking tragedy. So
on the subject of death metal, have you heard of Alien Weaponry?
No. It's a Māori band?
Māori death metal band, but I'm in talks with their label to get a song from them.
Sick.
Alien Weaponry.
Please. We did a tour with who was it? Was it like 12? No, not 12 Foot Ninja. There was a Māori band that used to come over and tour, and we played with them when we're over there, and they're awesome. I'll message you about it anyway. We completely waylaid the thing, but people check out that band and get ready for G1 because Aaron Henare is about to absolutely kill it. Where do people find Warrior Wrestling? Where do people find you? How do they, get on top of that event and know everything there is to know?
It'll be announced on Warrior Wrestling NZ on social media. On Twitter, it's Warrior Wrestling Aotearoa, which is the real name for New Zealand.
Yes.
But yeah, we're still finalizing the stages, but it'll be everyone that's wants to see it will see it on their feeds when it comes out.
Absolutely. Now that is awesome.
It'll be a fun event, and my first event back home. I've been in Australia more than New Zealand.
Well, yeah, I mean, you were just here for Tamashi, and then immediately back in Japan, and so close to New Zealand, but not close enough.
Yeah,
absolutely,
not close enough when you're in the middle of the tour. So I had to go New Beginning, Tamashi, and then back to the second half, New Beginnings.
Just running you ragged, man, but it's going to be all worth it. Like, your work ethic is absolutely inspiring to me, man. And I think with your attitude and understanding the way that, the Japanese culture does things and stuff can only lead to great, great success for you, man. So I want to thank you so much for your time. It's a pleasure. I'm just so glad that we got to meet and got to become friends because I really enjoy hanging out with you, bud.
No, thank you, brother. You're a good man.
Oh, thank you, man. No worries. So everybody out there, make sure you check out everything New Japan Pro Wrestling, Warrior Wrestling, Aaron Henare, United Empire, all of it, yeah? Thank you to my guest, and for everybody out there, remember, it's all about peace, love, and pro wrestling. Thanks everyone for listening. Faces and Feels is a DIY project created and edited in-house by me, Rafe Houston. You can show your support by following us on Instagram @FacesFeelsCast, Twitter @FacesFeelsCast, and Facebook @FacesFeelsCast. Or send us an email with topic suggestions or feedback to facesandfeels@gmail.com. And don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes. Our banger theme is Loose Lips Sink Ships by the Thunder Vipers. Check it out on Spotify. And now hang around for a quick word from some friends of the show. Peace out.
My body is a roadmap of pain.
DeathmatchWorldwide.com, the official online merchandise store that is only for deathmatch wrestling. Featuring official t-shirts from No Peace Underground, John Wayne Murdoch, Akira, Madman Pondo, Zona 23, Neil Diamond Cutter, G. Rayburn, Schlack, Necro Butcher, and many more. If you are a deathmatch wrestler, promotion, manager, or platform and are interested in joining the web store, send us an email to deathmatchworldwide@yahoo.com. Deathmatchworldwide.com for the violent feud.
Ring Post Radio is the only show hosted by Ryan Knightsey and Scotty Edwards that talks about the entire world of professional wrestling. With new episodes coming out every Sunday, there is absolutely no reason to not listen to real, honest wrestling opinions from two crazy maniacs. Have a hot boy summer and listen along to Ring Post Radio every Sunday on the Countout Network. This has been a Countout Podcast.